Hey, hello. Welcome to my channel, Thiru the English Guru.
All right, welcome to today's explainer on a notoriously tricky subject, English articles. Look, if you've ever found yourself pausing halfway through a sentence, kind of just wondering if you should say a, an, the, or maybe nothing at all, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to completely stop guessing, and we'll start actually applying the definitive rules of sound and specificity. So, we've got a super clear map for this explainer. We'll briefly meet the articles, dive into why sound matters way more than spelling for a versus an, master the definite article, look at the completely invisible zero article, and finally, figure out how to dodge those really common exam traps.
Okay, part 1, meet the articles, focusing on general versus specific. Let's just dive right into what an article is actually doing in the English language.
At their core, think of articles as tiny little signposts. They're just indicators telling us if a noun is broad and general, like saying you're going to buy a pen out of a massive box of them, or if it's highly specific and already known to both of us, like asking someone to close the door to a room. So indefinite simply means any of them, while definite means that exact one.
This comparison really hits the nail on the head. If you casually say, I bought a car, it basically just means you needed a ride. We don't know if it's a sedan or a truck yet. But if you say, I bought the car, wow, the entire meaning shifts. Suddenly, I know you finally bought that specific dream ride we were obsessing over last week. Just that one tiny word completely changes the entire context. Moving to part 2, a versus an, where sound really matters. We need to completely bust the spelling myth right now. For years, a lot of us were taught a really oversimplified rule. A goes before consonants and an goes before vowels. But that rule was based entirely on spelling. And honestly, spelling's a total trap. Think about this for a second. Which one is actually correct? A university or an university? If you're following that old spelling rule, U is a vowel, right? So your brain kind of tricks you into wanting to choose an university. But say it out loud. It just doesn't feel right, does it? The absolute crucial point here is sound, not spelling. University starts with the vowel letter U, sure, but we pronounce it with a hard consonant sound, U. Because of that sound, it takes a. It is absolutely a university. And this exact same logic applies to phrases like a European or a one-eyed man. Now let's see how this builds with an, which strictly precedes vowel sounds. Take the word honest. The H is completely silent, so you're starting the word with an O sound. That makes it an honest man or an hour. Now look at those acronyms, because this is where people literally get tripped up all the time. MLA. When you say the letter M out loud, you're actually vocalizing M. It starts with an E sound. Therefore, it's an MLA, an NP, and an FIR. Sound dictates everything. All right, part 3, mastering the definite article, or as I like to call it, the VIP noun treatment. What's really fascinating here is mapping out when a noun gets this specific VIP treatment with the word the. English has a ton of rules for this. But honestly, instead of memorizing 20 random bullet points, just look at how the naturally groups into logical categories. We use it for unique objects in nature. The sun, the earth. We use it for major geography, like the Ganga or the Sahara Desert. We also use it for famous cultural touchstones, holy books, newspapers, and iconic buildings like the Taj Mahal. And of course, highly specific mentions, right? Superlatives, like the tallest, ordinals, like the first, or even just a second mention. If I say I saw a dog, that's general. But if my next sentence is, the dog was barking, boom, it's specific. We know exactly which dog we're talking about now. But you have to watch out for exceptions. Geography can be a bit of a minefield for sure. The rule of thumb is you use the for entire plural ranges or collections. So it's the Himalayas for the mountain range and the Maldives for the island group. But we literally never use the for individual peaks or individual islands. It's just Mount Everest. Never the Mount Everest. You'll also use the in a few other very specific cultural contexts. We use it before musical instruments, like she plays the guitar. You'll use it for nationalities as a whole, like the French. Same goes for compass directions, specific blocks of time like the 1990s, and major historical events like the French Revolution. If you notice the pattern, they all represent something defined, globally known, and singular in human history or culture. Moving into part 4, the zero article rule, which is basically the invisible rule. So, it's time to shift our focus entirely. Because after all those heavy rules, sometimes the absolute best article to use is no article at all. This is our little grammatical palate cleanser. When we talk about the zero article, we literally mean leaving the space before the noun completely blank. No a, no an, no the. You drop the article for general proper names, so it's just Rahul lives in Delhi, never the Rahul. You drop it for languages and school subjects, she speaks English, not she speaks the English. You also use this invisible rule for everyday meals, sports like cricket, and general abstract concepts. Honesty is the best policy, right? Not the honesty. When you're speaking in these broad, sweeping general truths, you just let the noun stand completely on its own.
But actually, here's a brilliant little plot twist. Even a standard zero-article word like lunch suddenly demands the definite article the if you restrict its meaning. Take the phrase, "The lunch served yesterday was delicious." We aren't talking about the general concept of a midday meal anymore. No way. We're talking about a highly specific, unique lunch that happened yesterday. So remember, specificity always overrides the zero article.
All right, our final section, Part 5, Dodging Common Exam Traps with an Actionable Checklist. Let's make this totally practical.
For anyone looking to polish their writing or maybe prep for a grammar exam, let's transform all of this into a mental algorithm. First, mentally cross out these extremely common phonetic errors. Lock the correct usage in. Remember, it's a European because of the U consonant sound. It is an honest man because of the vowel O sound. It's just Mount Everest because it's a single peak. And it's plays the guitar because musical instruments take the definite article.
So, when you hit a tricky fill-in-the-blank, don't panic. Just run through this sequential checklist right in your head. Ask yourself, is the noun countable and singular? If yes, it needs an article. Okay, is it mentioned for the very first time? Then it's probably a or an. Does it begin with a vowel sound? Choose an. Or is it specific, globally unique, or a second mention? Well, then you deduce that it takes the. It's basically just a process of elimination.
To recap this explainer super quickly, stop looking at the spelling and let the sound dictate a or an. Use the when you're giving specific VIP treatment to unique things, geographic wonders, or second mentions. And finally, use the zero article, stepping out of the way entirely, for broad, general concepts, everyday sports, and proper names.
Think about how often we just throw language together on the fly without realizing the underlying grammar. It's kind of wild, right? But now that you actually know the framework, I have a challenge for you. Listen to yourself today. Ask yourself, can you spot where that invisible zero article is hiding in your everyday speech? Because I promise you, once you start seeing it, you absolutely